A professional headshot will earn you $40,000 more in annual income. Therefore, it's imperative that you take advantage of it. But how do you find a professional photographer, one who's actually going to help you build your brand and get you that additional income? Today, I'm joined with Alexandra Zach. Alexandra, Alex,
Yes.
tell me, did you even know that stat?
I did not know that. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, damn.
So $40,000 more if you have a professional professional headshot done on your LinkedIn profile, and then of course on your business cards and so on and so forth. That's a study that was recently done. And think about it like this: so, somebody that actually takes the time and invests in a professional headshot, they're actually a little bit more motivated.
Who did the study? They're
I can't remember,
photographers?
but I will post the link in the description below. Alex, tell everybody what you do, why you're here, so on and so forth. Why are you the specialist on our show today?
So I'm the specialist on the show today. I do headshots and branding for numerous different entrepreneurs and companies, from people with a staff of 1 to 50. They choose me to redo their image for their websites. I just did a huge law firm where it was about 30 people that we did at the studio and at their firm, their images, just to give themselves like a zhuzh. This market that we have now with social media, even if you wouldn't think like a law firm or a dental practice, they do need social media and content to constantly push out because people look for it. Like a website isn't enough. So that's where I come into play and where I set myself apart.
So social media, content-driven world. I mean, you and I talked about this so recently we did a show, and we'll put the link below, for American Dream TV, and sort of the concept was, we talked about how you were building brand and helping other people build your brand, and sort of how you've built their brand has helped you build your own brand.
It's so symbiotic.
Yeah.
Like it's a true circle. But I started off doing a lot of fashion editorial things. My background was in modeling, and then that's how I started to take photographs because a photographer took me underneath his wing and was like, you can use my studio, all my equipment, and did that for years. And so that's how I learned how to take photographs. But that's why mine are a little different than the typical headshot, because of that modeling and how I was taught to photograph.
What makes yours I mean, what's different about your headshots versus, just a traditional photographer? Can you kind of describe that for everybody?
The experience or just the look of it?
Both.
I think the posing is different. My favorite part within my job and what I do and why I love what I do is the one-on-one interaction that I have with my clients and getting to know someone and what they do and why they're there. And I also love, like experiencing the reaction to the final product. Why I think that I'm a little different is mostly the posing and the lighting. And because we do get to know each other within that time period, and I do take time with my clients, they're more relaxed, and so the photo looks a lot more candid than it would otherwise when you're just like standing in a typical headshot.
Right. So the experience overall is it's a much more fun experience. I can tell you firsthand. I mean, I had that opportunity for us to meet the first time a year or two ago.
Yeah.
And then we had the experience with American Dream TV.
Yeah.
So, it's just a fun environment. And you got such a great crew that you work with.
I do.
If you're somebody that's bringing in makeup artists and stylists, I mean, you offer all of that.
I do. It's a one-stop shop. So if you are super busy, and a lot of my clients, they're really busy. They are rocking and rolling. Like they don't have time to figure out and find the best. And so I've been doing this for a minute, and so I already know the best. And so I have everything lined up for you if you want that to come to, for men and women. If you wanted someone to shop for you and have all your clothing and a stylist there that's tailored for you, we do that. 100%.
Who are some of the people that you work with specifically?
I work with Erica Bogart. I call her the Rolls Royce of the makeup artists. She's amazing. Brittany Fishman, Paula, Kevin. They're amazing makeup artists. And then my stylists go from Jen Avery, who she works a lot with children, and she's more high end. And then I have Kale. She does a lot of styling as well. And then I work with a lot of agencies too for like models, Salt and Click.
When we did American Dream TV, you had Jenny Nowak with Click Models over there. So how did that relationship develop?
Okay, so her and I had like an instant friendship connection, but we had a random coffee date. And so we were we met in Buckhead for coffee, but she contacted me because a lot of her models were paying me to shoot and to get their portfolio built so they would get more bookings or even get signed with Click. Right. And so she's like, who is Alexandra Zach? Like, I need to reach out to these photographers, and one of them being me, who's shooting a lot of my models, and they're getting, you know, these awesome pictures for the portfolio. And so that's how we met. And then once we met, I had not been with an agency for me to model for a long time. She was like, dude, you should do this too. And I was like, yeah. And so I didn't for a while. And then she was like, give me your pictures. And so I sent her my pictures. So I'm signed with Click, but then I also work with them a lot.
Yeah. So you're wearing both sides, or both hats. You're working on the model side, you're working on the photography side. So does it, because you're modeling now in addition to the photography, does that, I know you mentioned it earlier, now you can teach new models or how to pose and do these type of things. I mean, does that keep you up to date and fresh? I mean,
yeah, 100%. So it constantly teaches me when I work with others, and then I'm going with other photographers, and then I work with other clients like models, like it goes back and forth, that I'm constantly learning. Like I say I'm not new, but I am always constantly new. Like, sure. I'm always wanting to learn. I'm always wanting to be critiqued. I always want constructive criticism. Like, I always want that. And I think whenever I'm on the other side of the camera, like in front of the lens, I learn, and I'm able to help my clients pose and feel more comfortable.
Well, isn't that a great sign of somebody who continues to evolve with their craft, as somebody who's willing to learn and take
I
on
think
criticism?
so.
Yeah,
I think so too.
Yeah.
It was hard to do at first.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was.
What about talk to me a little bit about, before I want to ask you about your business and how you got set up, because you kind of just started. We'll talk about your history and how you got started, but I want you to tell everybody, like, what's the one piece of advice for branding in today's world that is, vital? If you can break it down to one. I know it's a lot.
I would think about who your ideal client is. That would be create an avatar of who your perfect client would be, and 3 adjectives that would describe them. No, pronouns.
Pronouns, adjectives.
Okay.
I'm a finance major, not an English major. So when you were breaking down your avatar, did you use like AI to help you create an avatar?
No, this is before that. I knew that I wanted to mostly work with women, and within their brands and with their with developing their entrepreneur business. I knew that I wanted to do that, but mine just kind of evolved over time. My clients actually, it's weird in hindsight, they framed my avatar for me, and now that's what I build on. But when I first started off, like the first 3 years, like I was taking whatever I could possibly get. Sure. I'll take a picture of like your wedding and your dog and your children. Now it's just like the business that I got framed what I do now.
But that's small business, right? I mean, you're kind of just doing whatever it takes.
Pivot.
And then until you kind of figure it out. But yeah, I mean, if you had that one piece of advice and to really try to determine who your avatar is so you can market to them.
Yes.
So you can actually generate business with that avatar that will generate additional business. And what we've done, just, while I'm at it, I try to teach real estate agents on a regular basis to, to use ChatGPT to create an avatar. Essentially, I ask ChatGPT, ask me the questions needed to create my own avatar, and then ChatGPT will spit it out. I'll then put in my answers, and then it'll spit out an avatar specific to the questions or the information I input back into what ChatGPT already asked me.
Have you heard of Jasper?
I have.
I like Jasper.
Yeah.
I use Jasper a lot.
Okay. For what specifically?
Content for like the captions of like my posts, or just coming up with anything, of like redoing anything, honestly, now, even like apologies.
Yeah. I definitely utilize AI to create and generate emails. After I'll write it and then I'll have it rewrite it for me.
It's amazing.
It is. It absolutely is. It's a time saver, a
Yes.
lifesaver, all the things. So as a small business owner, you've mentioned that you're writing possibly, not that you would ever have to apologize for much, but possibly an apology letter, content, you're doing the photography. You're wearing a lot of hats. What about editing? Like, as a small business owner, tell us how you're managing all those different hats.
Okay, so it's this past, I would say past year and a half, I have really taken off some hats that I'm just wearing, mostly two to three, but it is still very intense. That's a lie, probably like 5 hats, but it used to be like 20. So it's been gradual. So since I've been growing, it was kind of scary to let go of some of the control, right?
Sure.
And so last year, this is year 2, I trained and hired an amazing retoucher who takes 75% off the load of my work, of my edits. If I'm shooting 20 people per month, the amount of edits are intense where I can't do anything else like network, kiss babies, like go
shake
hands. Exactly.
Yeah.
I can't do it. I'm like in a dark room editing all the time. So that was one thing. I hired a bookkeeper and an accountant. I have an online, someone that's online that's an assistant. And then I have someone that also helps me create reels and does my content for me, not all the time, so that I can just focus on maintaining the relationships that I have and creating new ones, and then taking the photographs.
So how much networking are you doing?
A ton.
Really?
Yes, a ton. So
I mean, when you say networking, explain what that means for you.
Networking for me is showing up for clients that mean a lot to me, showing up for birthdays, Christmases, their events, their work events, their dinners, some things that's special to me, because I do form relationships with 90% of my clients. We stay in touch, and they're real connections, and so I like to maintain that connection, and then within that, going to the events or the birthday parties or whatever they might be, then I always meet someone new. So a lot of my advertisement in the beginning was like Google, right? I don't really advertise anymore. It's all word of mouth. It's all through making connections and networking, and the quality of my work is being shared through social media.
And then, those particular connections, those are going to be more long-lasting, right?
They are, 100%. So when we were at the studio, we were talking, I met you for doing your headshots for American Dream, but then, I hopefully will do your photos of your wife and your children, and, so it continues to grow over time. And so a lot of my clients, they might come in for, their business headshot, but then I'm doing their family photographs for Christmas, or their daughter's graduating, because I've known them for years. And so it just keeps building and growing and growing. Yeah,
I love that. So that was one of the things I realized when we met met to do the show. You had brought in some heavy hitters, entrepreneurs. Again, Jenny Nowak from Click Models, a couple different stylists, makeup artists. And there's this web of connections that they all have, and you were
cool.
And it made me realize that, number one, anybody that's doing headshots successfully, they're connected in a lot of ways that nobody's really thinking about. You think, especially in the real estate world, mortgage, real estate, insurance, you're thinking about financial advisors and that world, but really, if you're working with if you as a photographer are working with successful individuals for headshots or any type of, you're more connected than most anybody.
Sometimes I kind of am. It's interesting. So it's been kind of wild. Deanna that you met, Deanna LaRue, she's a financial advisor, and she, she calls me the connector, and it's something that I truly love. Like, I love matching people up so that they grow, and then I love watching that growth between the two people. Even, I met this sweet little girl recently that she does fabulous makeup. It's just like having her connected with Paula so that she can intern underneath her to learn and grow. And I just like seeing that development with people.
No, that was eye-opening actually when we met. Yeah, just how many people you are connected with. So now let's take a step back for a second. So you mentioned that the majority of your business is coming from the networking that you're doing, but so social media, you've had this amazing growth on social media. Are you receiving business from Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all the things?
Yeah, all the things. What's kind of wild and what's happening that I don't really push as much out as my clients do. So it becomes again like this like symbiotic, like it's like a snowball that keeps packing on snow with momentum. But I'm getting a lot based upon clients reposting or tagging or crediting me within their posts, and then reposting, then I repost, and so then other people see it and then they contact me like that. But I'm not advertising like paying ads or anything like that on there. I did do that for a while. I didn't get much response from it. But I just stopped. But I do spend some time showing the experience now versus just the image. I try to create some short videos of what's going on. I show that I'm okay in front of the lens as well, so that you know that I'm not full of it, I guess, that I can show you how to pose as well. So I try to show both sides, so people feel more comfortable booking with me and they can trust.
So you said something earlier where you said, I think I'm getting it. So essentially you're not using like a funnel where people are going to your page and filling out information, a contact form. And,
no, that's another hat that I need to like maybe add or like shift. I'm not really quite sure. So that's one thing that I am working on. I do ask, and I can see because of the business and what I'm using, like with that, how many people are contacting me through certain ways. But how I start my initial booking is that I always have a phone call. And so I sit down and I talk, I make sure that we're a good fit, and then we go from there. So I don't just send them a link to, I do speak to the clients a lot before we actually get into the studio.
But I mean, that's part of branding, right? I mean, so people are getting your information just because you're out in the world and you've done a good job representing your brand.
Thank you.
Isn't that the idea?
Yes.
You're welcome. All right, so let's talk about, you've had this amazing growth over the last couple of years. You're looking to buy a house.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about how you started your business as far as like structuring it, and then what it's evolved to today, if you can.
Okay.
And I don't need like numbers. I'm just like kind of like how you set it up, and what advice would you give to other entrepreneurs that are out there that are starting their business, either some mistakes maybe you made or some successes that
would be like a
had.
5-hour show then of just mistakes. I think when I first started, mine was too narrow of what I wanted to do, and I was not accepting or open to criticism. And I think the biggest, I think out of fear, I didn't want to fail, and so I just thought that this was the way, and this is how I was going to do it, and I was not going to take any other road or pivot, which is the worst thing in my opinion that I did, was that I wasted time not pivoting. And so there were times that I was, taking whatever client that I could possibly take and have, but at the same time, I also was kind of very rigid with who I was taking in the beginning. Like I just wanted to do fashion. I just wanted to do models. I just wanted to do, my idea of what a photographer was supposed to do was just that. But then what was interesting is as I met more people that were creatives, but were also, entrepreneurs are creative, very creative, but not in the sense of, they're painting a picture, but they are very creative with money. And so I found like this, I found that, my experience with working with people with doing like headshots or like branding was something that I preferred to actually do once I was able to pivot and like kind of open up to that. So that would be my biggest suggestion to people that are just starting, is like, don't be too rigid, and be okay with changing the course. It might be the best thing for you. It was for me. I my structure changed over time by changing and just being adaptable versus being so rigid. And then allowing other people that knew more than me to like give me suggestions.
Like what?
Like Deanna on like how to handle my money, or like my sister that she was like, you need to have an assistant. I was like, no, I'm the only person that needs to do this. Right. Just out of fear that, someone might take something from me, right? Sure. Which doesn't make any sense, honestly. I mean, it does, but at the same time, it doesn't make any sense. But I didn't want them, to take my editing style, or to take clients from me. But at the end of the day, like, people choose me based upon who I am. Right. And my work, but also who I am. Sure. So I let go of that fear, and that confidence started to build the more I let go.
What about you mentioned structure. So, you started out just sort of collecting Venmo or PayPal or cash, and then we've evolved into a more corporate structure.
There is more of a corporate structure. So I do have, I have waivers all the time. I still do take lots of different forms of payments, like those. But I am much more structured in that sense, with the contracts, and I have someone else that is helping me on my end receiving the payments.
Why is it so important to have a contract in place for you and your business?
Copyright stuff. So I learned the hard way. I had a client that I took photographs with, and because I didn't have copyright in place or a print release, they were using the images for a product, not just for their business, which was agreed upon, and then they were profiting off of their product, which I didn't know this, but that's something how photographers and creatives, make money, just like a writer or an artist, that if you're using something that you've created, that there's different,
you should be paid for it.
There's different parameters, and I had no idea. So that, and then waivers as far as a big thing for me is that it is 100% essential for it to be credited on all social media, just like an artist or a writer or anything like that. So that's a big thing for me. And then liability as far as like coming into the studio, just like simple things like that I just had no idea. Right. I went to school for psychology, and then I worked in a bar. So, that was my background.
Sounds
before.
Like a typical path of a college graduate, right?
I don't know.
Now but recently, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, you've recently turned into an S Corp, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I did.
So what was
These are heavy questions.
So again, trying to share advice.
Yes.
Why did you do that? What was the advice you were given as to why you should turn into an S Corp?
Okay, so because of the, I guess, my capital gains, the amount of money that I was making and how I was structuring and how I was, it was best for me as far as financially and for taxes to turn into an S Corp.
For taxes primarily. Right?
Mostly taxes. And also I'm hiring on more people to work with me. And so either them being, 1099, or if some of them are W-9 employees, is better for an S Corp.
And so you were given this advice through one of your clients.
Yes.
And does she have you contributing and putting money away?
That's a big thing
things?
too. So the past 2 years too, like that was something that's really cool as well, is that I'm able to see like I putting things into like retirement, a 401k, like my insurance, like just even.
Does it pain you as a creative and sort of like your mental? Does it pain you that you're doing these type of things?
No, honestly, it makes me feel
all grossed up.
Yeah, but then I'm able to relax a little bit, letting go of being in control of all of those things. I'm able to relax a little bit, and then also spend more time being creative. Yeah. Just to like let go and just be like, I have someone that's amazing that does like legit. I hand him my receipts, and I'm like, here, because I'm just not good at it.
So not that you would do it all over, because it's all about like that path, right, that we take to get where we're at today. But as far as like a structure standpoint, like would you have, knowing what you know now, would you have started and created an LLC and an S Corp and done all those things from the get-go to make it, because you just mentioned it made you a little bit more relaxed, now you have something to show for it, even if initially you're not able to put money away as much as you are now, would that have made it easier for you at this point?
I wasn't making the money that I'm making now.
Sure.
So I didn't have money to.
Understood. Yeah.
I was just like.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's why it's like.
So, but if I did have capital, if I was making what I'm making now immediately, then yes, hands down, I would have had it set up that like almost like an army of people so that I was set up for success. Right. Absolutely. Like I would have had someone doing my social media immediately so I knew what was working, what wasn't working. Just things as time is money. Like I didn't really ever understand that until like now at this place that I'm at. It is. So having someone do those things, like finding someone that could just take some of the load off so that I could do things to generate more business and keep that momentum going, that would have been huge. So yes, absolutely. I think the biggest thing is finding someone. Taxes are confusing, really
they
confusing.
Are, and there's a lot of loopholes out there too. And I'm no tax expert by any stretch of the imagination.
But there are.
But I see it on a regular basis. I evaluate taxes on a regular basis. I evaluate finances on a regular basis. And I see it all the time where individuals have these businesses. They're creating great money, but yet they don't show anything.
Yeah.
They have nothing either to show for it, or they're not showing anything on their taxes, and then it becomes a problem. Like, how do you qualify for certain things?
Yes.
Right. So and again, there's always loopholes or ways around those types of things.
And I think that's what was important with doing an S Corp the past couple of years, because I was hitting that as well. But the biggest thing for me was talking to someone that was familiar with working with small businesses or bigger businesses, and then getting a really amazing CPA and bookkeeper.
Because it's not, of course, it's not all what you make, it's what you keep, right? I mean, you got to be able to make it first before you can keep it. But we want to be able to keep it. We don't want to be paying the IRS more than we have to.
No, and I think that's what I was doing. It was kind of defeating too at the same time, because you're like, oh yeah, I saved this amount of money, and there's like, oh no, wait, just kidding.
Now you got to pay the IRS.
Go call, give it to the man.
Yeah,
Uncle Sam.
The man is. I wouldn't say undefeated, but he's got a good winning percentage for sure.
For sure. Shockingly so.
So what's the future hold for Alex?
I just honestly, I just kind of take it day by day. I really do nowadays. I hope that I continue to make amazing lifelong connections and friendships with people within my photography, and just continue to stay booked and blessed. That's it, and get to do what I love.
And blessed. I love
That's
that.
it. That's all I want to do. Maybe some travel.
Yeah.
And shooting. A little bit more of that, but honestly, I'm pretty happy.
So talk about, real quick, you mentioned that you just did a special photo shoot for a son or one of your clients or a son. Talk a little bit about that. Because that's special. I think the special needs community as a whole, it has a special place in my heart. So why did you do this?
I had a client, and it's again the networking and the connections. But I had a client that I met years ago. I actually met her. Her daughter was being really bullied, and she wanted to have a photo shoot for her daughter to feel pretty. She was like that 12, 13-year-old. You couldn't pay me to go back to being 12, 13-year-old girl in middle school. Oh, it was awful. But she was being really bullied, and so she hired me just to make her daughter feel really pretty. And she did, and it really helped her on her journey. And so that was years ago, and I've since then taken photos of her other children, her for business and for her whole family. And so she referred me to this woman that has a special needs son, and it was quite the experience. Like, it was very humbling, and I was very grateful that they chose me. And we took some amazing images for him, and the mom was ecstatic with the result.
Sure.
But we took our time, and they were fire. They were awesome.
I love it.
And they were really stoked about the pictures.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So anything on the horizon? You said travel, and I think in September, I mean, you were all over the place there for a little while.
Yeah,
like
I was crazy.
New York, I think you were overseas, weren't you?
I was doing a bunch of stuff. I was all over the place.
Yeah.
I was crazy. But on the horizon that's coming up, I just have a lot of branding shoots. I'm doing like 2 law firms, and then I'm doing another concierge aesthetics company for injections and Botox and stuff like that. So I'm doing that. And then I'm fully booked through March.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's been cool.
Booked and blessed.
Booked and blessed. Yes.
Love it.
Yes.
Alex, where can everybody find you? Of course, I'll put all the description, all the links, and all the things down in the description below. But where can everybody find you?
They can find me on Instagram, Alexandra Zach, or on my website, alexandrazach.com. And also, too, thank you very much for choosing me to do this. It's been
my pleasure.
It was so nice, and it felt so good, and all the people. It was nice to have everyone at the studio.
Yeah,
it was really cool. So thank you again for picking me to do this. It was awesome.
I'm by no stretch of the imagination a professional when it comes to the producing and hosting of the American Dream TV show.
It was good. It's good.
But it turned out phenomenal, and it doesn't get any better when you need to have somebody that actually wants to help and contribute and be part of it as well. I've worked with a few folks that they seem like they want to be part of the show, and then when they're there, they're not really engaged, they're not involved, and they're just kind of like there. So having somebody that was a true collaborator on the segment was a breath of fresh air, and it's shown. We've gotten all kinds of different accolades. We've had
it was
success.
So fun. It was so much fun. I'm very grateful to you.
And
so thank
a ton of connections, as you mentioned before. Lots of networking opportunities.
That's good.
And, you really did us a solid.
Same.
And so thank you very much.
Of course, thank you.
Well, we wish you nothing but the best.
Thank you.
Well, we know we'll be in touch with you going forward. We got a couple ideas that we're talking about to collaborate with, possibly some more American Dream TV. And as a matter of fact, I'm doing it's one of the ladies that we met that day. We're doing another American Dream TV show with her business. So again, the power of connections, the power of networking pays off. So Alex, thank you so much. Happy New Year to you, and we wish you all the best. Okay. And thanks for coming in.
Thank you very much.
That once again was another Darin interview.